So hello and welcome to another Guardians of Wiltshire video. I'm your host, Dewi. I'm actually joined by co-host Luke,
I'm back.
along with Alastair King and Shaun Lang. And we're here to do a Fiefdoms faction overview. So I've got two players who've played with Fiefdoms quite a lot, along with myself. Luke's here for the ride.
I've played one game. I'm pretty sure it was on the channel. It was a batter up on the channel.
Oh, good, yeah, maybe. Oh, against Easterlings.
Yes.
Yeah, that went terribly for me.
Yeah, I remember that.
So we're going to run through the heroes, the warriors, their army bonus, their alliances, and then 3 army lists written by the guys at the end, and we'll see kind of what their thoughts are for certain levels. And through all of this, we'll be discussing tactics, etc., as the conversation evolves. So we'll move right on to the main man himself, Prince Imrahil. So he has the keywords of man, Gondor, infantry, and hero. He's a hero of legend, meaning he can lead 18 troops. His stat line is a move 6, fight 6, with a 4+ shoot, strength 4, defense 7, 3 attacks, 3 wounds, courage 6, 3 might, 3 will, 3 fate hero. His standard war gear is heavy armor, sword, and a shield, but realistically, you're always going to be giving him his armored horse and his lance. He has a pretty decent set of heroic actions in resolve, strike, strength, and defense. And then his special rules are Lineage of Numenor, which gives him a 12-inch standfast, and Dalamoth for Gondor, meaning captains, knights, and men-at-arms of Dalamoth within 12 inches of Prince Imrahil count as being ranged with a banner. Gents, thoughts?
He's pretty much your best basic heroic character. Like,
yeah,
I think wrote a stat line. That's what you'd like.
Yeah, he's got the 3s in all the right places. He's got high defense, that fight 6 as well. With the courage 6 and 12-inch standfast as well. The troops aren't going to go if and when the army breaks. Yeah, I think he's solid all round, really.
Yeah, and that door armor, the door armor for Gondor is such a good ability. It's almost like you got 3 banners in the list.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I always actually think if you work out a banner is supposed to be 25 points, as soon as you then got a 12-inch effect, you basically quadruple your range of your banner. And so it's not a real banner, obviously, but it's almost like a 75-point bonus of banner range.
Plus the troops you'd have to pay to carry them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely very good. Would you ever take him on foot?
Only if I was taking the worst legendary legion in the game.
True.
That would be menacing.
I think you're always going to have him on his horse with the lance as well.
He's such good value with his options.
Yeah.
Definitely.
His only drawback, it's not really a massive drawback, is he's only strength 4 with 3 attacks, and he doesn't get any wounds bonus unless if he's got the lance. At which point, that's why you always put him on the horse, armored horse as well. So less likely to get shot off by evil guys.
Yeah, most definitely. I think he's pretty much an auto-include unless you're playing 500 points and you want the other 3 named heroes. But even then, I've taken Imrahil and doing here Imrahil and Forlong at 500, and he's so solid.
Yeah,
I think what he brings to the army, he's just too good not to have. Like I said, with the standfast and banner alone, he's worth paying for that. So maybe at lower points, you could just not take him on the horse and have him sit behind everyone, and just be a giant banner for you.
Yeah.
So, spoiler, I was going to, when I was making my list for the end of the video, I was actually initially made it without Imrahil just to do a curveball, and then it got to the point I was like, you may as well just have him in there because he is that good. One thing we haven't mentioned is I know actually that will come up on one of the profiles, won't it? But
the other one.
Yeah. But I really like him mainly because he's a hero which is good in combat, but he also gives you bonus to the army when he can't be in combat or being effective.
Yeah.
So it's like even if he gets immobilized, he's still doing things for you, which when you're paying sort of the top tier price of a hero, which he is, it's really handy because then it means that he's always providing some points.
Yeah, it's worth noting that Don from Gondor is passive, so it's really, really useful. I think he's got a good range of heroic actions as well. You're pretty much only going to use strike most of the time.
Defense is really useful for a general as well.
Defense is definitely I would say the second best on that.
With the fight 6, unless you're going up against elves or like eagles and that, normally you can wait out people who want to strike against him with a couple of defenses, and because he's 3 fate with 3 wounds, he can actually take a round or 2 where he doesn't strike, and then you end up with might for combats.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. And I think he has got quite a big fear factor as well when he's on the table. I know quite a few people, especially when the game starts to break up. And I remember playing down Hookvale, and he killed a Knight of Dunamorth on a horse or something, and Imrahil was behind. And suddenly there's a big 40 mil gap where Imrahil can plough through on his horse against Malher or something like that. And it's just like, well, that's what you're going to do.
As long as he stays mounted, he's something to be feared.
Yeah.
And then when he actually gets dismounted, he's with his fate and defense, he can actually then just be used to hold up enemy heroes and scary things because he'll probably survive, unless if you roll atrociously or he does.
If you get in a jam with him in that situation, you can just shield.
Yeah. 6 dice, fight 6.
You're going to get a 6 mathematically. So
I'll never say that though before you roll it. Otherwise you won't.
Say that before, no.
So we'll move on to the next hero. Oh, unless you've got one final point.
I was going to say you actually technically always get 4 dice to win combat with him, or 7 if you shield, because he's got no effects himself.
It only does in the if you're green.
It only does with the army bonus. But we'll move on to that later. So we'll move on to the second hero. Luke, take it away.
So 4 long with fact. Keywords: man, Gondor, infantry, and hero. And he's a hero of valor. Move 6, fight 5, 4+ shoot. Strength 5, defense 6, 2 attacks, 3 wounds, courage 4, 3 might, 1 will, 1 fate. I'll quickly go through the rest before we talk about it. So war gear, he has heavy armor, sword, war spear, and war horn, which is pretty useful in its own. Heroic actions, he just has heroic strength, and special rules is the Lord of Lossarnach. So Axeman of Lossarnach within 6 inches of Forlong must reroll results of a 1 and roll into wound during the fight phase. And options for war gear, he can take a horse if you want to. So, thoughts, guys?
Give him the horse.
Always.
My God, give him the horse.
He is such a beast, he is. He can take out pretty much anything in the game, I'd say. With that strength 5 with the war spear on that horse, he just plows through everything.
He is arguably the best character in the list for his points. Actually, I'm not even going to say arguably, he just is. Like from last edition, and I used to take him in the last edition. He's gone up 10 points, gone up to fight 5. Now he's got a war spear when he's on the horse, and he has a war horn, and he gets his special rule, which really helps the army out.
Massive.
Yeah, he's amazing.
I was going to say, I think that's the one underestimated thing about him is his special rule. Everyone sees a stat line and goes, strength 5 guy with a war spear, excellent. His special rule for a strength 3 army is incredible.
Yeah, reroll to wound, 1's to wound.
Yeah, it's you don't have to faint and therefore lower your fight value. And
you have him with Imrahil and a couple of Knights of Dunamorth on horse with their lances, and all of a sudden, +1 to wound rerolling once.
Yeah,
it's a 6-inch bubble as well.
Yeah,
which is massive. It will cover a majority of your line. His only downside is he's got rubbish heroic actions. But realistically, actually, that's not a bad thing. He won't necessarily be going after characters because he can't strike, but it then means you've actually got 3 might in your army, which will always be dedicated to heroic moves or heroic combats and stuff like that. So it's kind of disposable.
Or heroic shoots. We'll come on to that a little
Oh,
bit
yeah.
later.
Yeah.
But he is really useful for that. The fact he's got a warhorn in the army, which with a relatively high courage army for men anyway, is really useful.
But it makes him so cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I
super cheap.
would take him without the warhorn for the points he's got at the moment.
Oh, God, yeah. The warhorn's a bonus.
You get a free 30-point upgrade, which makes him courage 5, which then suddenly is quite good. And like, yeah, he's just awesome.
Well, you've got then with him with the warhorn, you've got Imrahil at courage 7, who's tying with Gandalf the White.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your army isn't running when he's on the board, and you've got Imrahil as well.
No. And especially in the current meta where you've got a lot of terror causing Black Numenorians or similar things, like having that extra bit of courage is really handy.
Yeah.
Most definitely. I think he's really good. And being a hero of valor for a mid-tier points level hero is huge.
He's great in little, as small points as the general because he's got the 3 wounds, and in like scenarios where you've got a fog of war where you got to protect a hero and stuff like that. Because
he's also a good assassin.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
For taking out, I've used him against like shamans, especially him and Imrahil strike combating off to do whatever.
Yeah,
really solid.
Yeah, with those 3 wounds, I've had it several times. People have gone to try and snipe him out, done a couple of wounds to him, and then get surprised when he's still there the next turn when Imrahil comes charging in. Because they call us cheeky heroic combat, but they can only do 4 wounds maximum, and on average, with his fate, they're only getting 2 through.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and defense 6 is just amazing on him as well.
Yeah, I think that's for what he is. I think defense 6 is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I would use him to go after troops, and most troops are going to be lower than fight 5 and strength 3 often.
My main thing that I do with him is I find heroes that don't have strike and are like fight 4, and you just go after them, and you can normally one-turn them, to be honest.
Yeah.
I would use him against Uruk-hai heroes as well, rather than Imrahil, because their strength 5 is normally a scary thing for a defense 7 model because you lose that thing. But actually, as soon as you go, to be honest, defense 6, defense 7 doesn't make a difference, and you're beating or matching them on fight value, they're having to commit to use might to beat you, but then you can still take their punch and not be Imrahil.
And with Uruk heroes, they'll never be mounted, so you've always got that bonus. So we'll move swiftly on. Alastair?
So, Angbor the Fearless, he is a man, Gondor, infantry and hero keywords. He's a hero of valor, so a bit like Forlong, he can lead 15 guys. His war gear he has armor, broadsword. His heroic actions is strike, and special rules is broadsword, which means if he rolls a natural 6 when rolling to win combat, he doesn't get a -1 for his 2-handed weapon. He is fearless, and he's chief of Landon, which means that he makes all clansmen within 6 inches of him fearless. And the stat line, so move 6, fight 5 with a 4+ shoot, strength 4, defense 5, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 5, might 2, will 3, fate 1. An interesting profile, one that I quite like. But what do you guys think?
Well, to be honest, I actually love Angbor in the army. I think the fearless build he provides, and he's your only other striker. People get surprised with the broadsword that he can actually do a significant amount of damage.
Yeah, his damage output is incredible.
Yeah, it's just chews through stuff. I use him on a flank with a load of clansmen of Lamadon, and normally have the axemen behind him to kind of use as a flanking threat. People don't think because of the -1 that he's going to be any issue. But then the broadsword kicks in, he just chops through everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And if you've got
I
him in the army with
remember,
that 12-inch banner, he can re-roll a dice and maybe get a 6 that way as well. So he's got possibly 3 attacks to get that natural 6. So
yeah, I remember actually. Oh, I like Angbor partly because I like the model, but it was at the ETC in Poland. I actually played against him, and that fearless bubble was so annoying as soon as the army broke, because it just meant that the usual tactics didn't make any difference, and you've got this 12-inch bubble of just from one side of him to the other side that was stopping anyone fleeing or having to take courage tests and stuff like that, and that's super handy when you're in a situation like that.
Especially if you tag team with the Imrahil. You can have Angbor next to Imrahil, and in that fearless, that like your standfast bubble is suddenly instant, and it's 12 inches.
Yeah.
Like it's huge.
Yeah.
I think one of the best things he has is the Courage 5 and the 3 Will.
Yeah.
yeah, I'd agree with that.
The free will is really handy actually, because the amount of like lists like Rivendell Knights, or not so much anymore, but Radagast and stuff like that with area of effect bubbles, it means that you can protect Imrahil's will to stop those happening, because Angor can pretty freely use his because he never actually has to take a courage test because he's fearless.
Yeah.
So he's got will there just to resist spells.
Yeah, pretty much.
Another little thing you can do with him, because of course he's got he's the -1 to hit. People don't really think about him in positioning, so you can actually have him alongside Forlong. So if any striking heroes go for Forlong, Angor can run in, strike up, and then you can heroic combat with Forlong and just push out through.
Yeah. I think they're really solid. Again, you can tag team with Imrahil. I've done that before and taken out a cave troll with Imrahil and Angor just going in. Really, really solid. The broadsword. I find if you give him 2 pike supports with your men at arms, you're on your way to doing well.
Yeah. He's a super cheap hero of valor as well.
Yeah.
He's got to be one of the cheapest hero of valors in the game, coming in at a sort of normal captain price, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me though, he's probably the last named hero I'd take.
So I've got a theory as when I would take him, but I'll probably go into that a little bit more later. But for me, he's not the last named hero.
It's because I prefer obviously Imrahil and Forlong, and then I prefer Dwinker next.
Which is a nice segue.
Yeah, which is a nice segue. So Shaun, take us away.
So here we got Dunhir. He's got the keywords man, Gondor, infantry, hero, and he's a hero of valor. His stat block, he moves 6. He's got fight 4 with a 3+ shoot, strength 4, defense 5, attacks 2, wounds 2, courage 3, might 2, will 1, and fate 1. His war gear, he can have armor, a sword, a bow, and a spear. His heroic actions are heroic accuracy and a heroic defense. And his special rules are Mountain Dweller, Go for the Eyes, and Lord of the Blackroot Vale. Go for the Eyes allows him to reroll failed wound rolls himself. And if he targets a monster, he does D3 wounds instead of 1. Lord of the Blackroot Vale means any Blackroot Vale archers within 6 inches that didn't move in the movement phase get to reroll 1s to hit during the shoot phase. I quite like this guy myself. What do you guys think of him?
I love him. I think he's really, really handy. He's, like I said, he's probably my 2nd or 3rd choice hero that I take in Fiefdoms. Just for the potential in shooting. I think more recently I take Forlong before him, but he would be the third hero.
Yeah. It gives you more consistency with wounding, with hitting, and once we get to them, he helps them wound as well a lot more, the archers.
Yeah.
See, I personally wouldn't use him that much, but that's because he makes the army into an incredibly horrible shooting list, if you wanted, which isn't actually a criticism of him. It's just more, it's not a style of army which I like doing with Fiefdom so much, but he is incredibly good at what he does.
Yeah.
And one of the things that people tend to forget is like the Mountain Dweller special for him, because I don't know whether you guys notice, rocky terrain's becoming more and more common, and being able to just surprise your opponent and just suddenly shoot done here across this rocky terrain is actually something that will come in a lot more handy than most people think.
Yeah.
His archers get it as well.
I've never really looked into it, but looking at it now, rerolling jump, leap, and climb tests as well is beneficial in any game you play.
Yeah.
It will come up every now and again when you need it to, and it's there when you need it. I really like doing it. I'm probably going to go controversial and say that he's second choice in heroes in this list, above Forlong.
Oh, nice.
But that's because, unlike Ali, I like shoot the armies. I'm a high elf player. I play Rivendell Knights. Even when I play Moria with my goblins, I'll always have a few archers in there just because I like the threat of that shooting.
Your Moria goblins are annoying.
Yeah.
I think you're less controversial than me by saying he's probably my 5th choice hero in the list. But I've got my stupid reasons for that, though.
Having that 3+ shoot value along with the troops as well, which we'll come on to. They're elf shooting, and they get buffs as well. So obviously the reroll 1s and reroll wounds for himself, and I think that shoot threat is big in certain scenarios where you need to target a certain hero, or you need to get rid of a banner, or that's something like that. I really like shooting in this game, and I'll always have some form of shooting. And if it's the best I can, I'll get it in there like we're doing it.
I am kind of like you, Luke. I do have him normally as my second pick, but that's more because after the first tournament I went to, I took Fiefdoms with Imrahil and Dunhir into the west, and I had him with a little battery of about 6 archers, and they just shot Dane's pig out in turn 1.
Oh no!
The ballista failed to hit, so the Iron Hills player was a bit more confident that the Dane wouldn't get hit, so I had him front and center. So they all targeted him, took his pig right out from under him in 1 round.
Oh, God.
I was going to say I've played with them against Tom Harrison at the GT, and I had Forlong and doing here, and like 8 Black Rebel archers, I think it was, and it was Fog of War, and I targeted Groblog through, I think it was 2 goblins, and then past a slight wall, so it was a shoot and an accuracy from Forlong and doing here. Took Groblog out in the following turn, took another 2 goblins, the Shaman's Fate and a wound, and then both Fate off Durbos or something like that over 2 rounds of shooting.
No.
And it's just like...
You really like that combo, don't you?
Every game Forlong to win heroic shoot, heroic accuracy.
Yeah, I think every game I played you with Fiefdoms, it happens at least once. It's just brutal.
I'm interested. I was going to say, have you guys ever used the Go for AIs particularly successful against monsters?
Once I have. I took out the Witch King's Fell Beast.
Nice.
I spent all his might to I got a hit, got a 5 up, and then popped that lucky 6 and just took the Fell Beast out.
To be honest, he's only 10 points more than a Fell Beast, so I wouldn't really say that's a waste.
No.
He's got heroic defense as well, which is actually a really good action to have on a cheap hero like that, because you can just use him for 2 turns to go hold up an Azog or a Bolg or whatever, really.
Yeah. I had the Spider Queen try and go for him at the GT, and she came charging in, charged him, and I just called a heroic defense, and the look on my opponent's face, and he's like, "Oh, I forgot you told me you could do that." Because Imrahil sat right by 9 inches away from that combat, so now the Spider Queen's getting a bit panicked.
I think the only thing that lets him down, well, he is a ranger, so he's only defense 5. And his courage, I find
courage isn't great. No,
he can run away quite a lot.
Fight 4 as well is a bit low for the army for a hero, but it's not going to be a combat hero.
No. I generally, his might for me goes on, like Luke says, probably a heroic accuracy or at least a heroic shoot, and then probably a heroic move later on in the game when you just move up with his archers just for those extra numbers.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're like, oh, I have an extra might here. And Imrahil or Forlong doesn't have to call it.
Yeah. Well, I've had him and his characters win a shooting war against Isengard crossbows.
Yeah, ditto. Yeah, I've done the same.
But that was on the GT live stream against Damon. Yeah, he had his guys in cover. My guys were just on the hill, just shooting out his archers.
Just more confidence. They knew they were going to win. Didn't need the cover.
Yeah, well, they did. They wiped out all the crossbows.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, I think I lost like 2 of them from it. I even had a ballista shooting at them.
Oh, I think I watched that one. So we'll move on to the last hero in the list, the Captain of Dol Amroth, who has the Man, Gondor, Infantry, and Hero keywords. He is the only hero of Fortitude in your list. He has Move 6, Fight 5, 4+, Strength 4, Defense 7, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, Courage 4, 2 Might, 1 Will, 1 Fate. He comes with Heavy Armour, Sword, and a Shield, and his options are an Armoured Horse and a Lance. Like all captains, he's only got Heroic March, and his special rules, which we kind of alluded to earlier, is the Pride of Dol Amroth. A model with this special rule that is within 3 inches of Prince Imrahil of Dol Amroth adds +1 to their fight value. Best special rule in the list? In the whole faction?
Second.
I'd say second, third. I mean, all the specials are pretty awesome, to be honest.
I just think that 12-inch banner is just too good.
Yeah, the 12-inch banner is phenomenal.
Because if you work the math out, even if you go, it's worth 3 banners and 3 hit guys, it's 61 point Imrahil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, I've never actually used the Captain of Dol Amroth in a game. Every time I go to make a list, it's like, oh, I put a captain in, but then you look at the named heroes.
Yeah.
See, I think the Captain Dol Amroth is possibly one of the best unnamed heroes in the game, if not the best unnamed hero in the game.
He's very, very good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can see the value in him.
He's got all of the stuff that you want from a captain, really. Fight 5's good. Strength 4 is pretty standard, but you can get the lance and the horse. Defense 7 is really good. And then he's got captain stats, but Heroic March is massively important for me in this game, I think. And then the fact that you can go up to fight 6, which means he can take on most heroes if you need to, and be a threat because he's going to be getting 4 dice to win combat with a horse on the charge and Imrahil. They're just really, really good in my opinion.
Oh yeah, they are such good value for money.
Like you said, Shaun, I've never used one. I've thought about it and then gone, oh, but I like Forlong, it's got an extra point at might.
It's that temptation to have the named heroes in armies, isn't it? You want to have the characters in there. You don't want to take generic captains, but not many captains have special rules that good.
I think it's actually the point value for him. Like, he's not expensive, but the problem is for 5 points more, you can have Forlong. And for the same price as his base, you get Angbor. And for 5 points less, you get Dunhir. So it's like every time it's like, oh, but I could save points and get this unique special rule.
Yeah. I think if I was right...
I think it comes down to how much you value Heroic March.
Yeah. And probably if I was going to take 4 heroes, I'd probably take him over Angbor. Think about it now, but it's a very tough decision.
Yeah, I do value Heroic March in pretty much every army, but I've taken all 4 of the named heroes, but never even on a 5th hero, that's where I consider the captain, because March is great, but you've got so much cav you're going to have in the army list. You kind of have the mobility you need, and with an archery bunker with done here, you can kind of force your opponent where you want them.
Yeah. Have we lost Ali for a little bit?
He's just got a lovely pose he's paused in.
Yeah. Oh well, we'll move on. So we'll move on to the Warriors next. So Luke, take us away.
Okay, so the first one is the Knight of Thalamoth. So keywords: man, Gondor, infantry, warrior. Stat line: move 6 as with most 9 models. Fight 4, 4 plus shoot. Strength 3, D6. One attack, 1 wound, courage 4. War gear: they come with heavy armor, sword, and shield. The options you can take are a warhorn, a banner, an armored horse, or a lance. And special rules is the Pride of Thalamoth. So as we talked about with the captain in depth, within 3 of Emerald, they get +1 fight value, so fight 5 essentially, which for their points, once you add them up, they are quite expensive, but I think they're worth it. Definitely having a few of those in an army is key, really.
Oh yeah, they're great frontline troops to kind of take the initial charge.
Yeah, I think they're good in both their foot versions and their mounted versions. I generally have a smattering of them mounted, probably 2 or 3 in a list, maybe 4. Actually pushing up to 700, 800 points. But yeah, like Shaun says, I at least take 4 of them on foot because they can shield.
Right.
Yeah, and like you said, with the fight 5, when you get Imrahil there, and unless you're fighting elves, they can hold a line as long as you need.
Yeah, definitely.
I tend to, my Fiefdoms list always tend to start with one thing, and it's Imrahil, 4 of these guys on horse with lance, normally 4 or 5 on foot, and then a line of men at arms behind. And then after that, it's pick war bands from there, depending on what points I'm doing. That's normally how I start the list, because I just love the look of the models as well.
Yeah.
Like the Forge World
Lovely, cool, yeah.
are just beautiful.
I've got 25, 26 of the metal ones. But I've managed to snip them and bend arms so they're all in different places, which is quite nice.
Oh, nice.
Would you ever take a banner or a warhorn?
Not on these. I never take a banner on these guys, and I've always got forelong, so I don't need the warhorn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rare that you see it. Even with the banner, even though you get 12-inch banner effect, there are perks to having an actual banner. But I probably wouldn't put it on one of these guys.
Oh, I know exactly who I put it on every time. We come to them a bit later.
Right, my internet dropped out for a bit, so I've missed them. But I'm presuming we're talking about the knights.
Yes.
Right. Summary: I think they're a bit overpointed without all of the bonuses that everyone gives them, but they're a good D6 unit to have in the army.
Yeah. You're really echoey as well.
Am I?
Yeah.
Hello, guard. Yeah, like Ali said, if these guys need at least 3 of the named heroes to kind of, like, you want Imrahil and Forlong to really make them work, and then, like you said, the Fearless bubble from Angbor just makes them stay forever.
That's great.
Yeah.
Courage 5 and Fearless.
Yeah, really, really good.
Yeah, it means when you're playing like people with Army of the Dead, that Courage 5 just means they're not killing you as easily as they want.
Yeah, especially if King of the Dead is still around, that completely negates their Harbinger, doesn't it?
Yeah. If you didn't have Imrahil and Forlong, I probably wouldn't take as many.
Yeah,
They are slightly too, like on their standalone, they're too expensive. But once you say they've got a banner across the whole army and they reroll 1s to wound without fainting, you can justify the cost.
yes, definitely.
I think that's where these are where the costs of the heroes are.
Yeah. It's a thing which I kind of think is probably the right way to do it, because you don't know how many infantry troops you're going to have. Whereas you could have Imrahil be way too many points if you put all 75 points worth of his banner and his +1 fight value into him. But it works better with the troops being 1 point more, and you pay for the upgrade there.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the next one. Shaun, if you want to take this away.
Yep. So we got Men at Arms of Dol Amroth. They have the keywords Man, Gondor, Infantry, and Warrior. Their stats: they have Move 6, they have Fight 4, Shoot 4+. Their Strength 3, Defense 5, 1 Attack, 1 Wound, and Courage 3. Their war gear options are Heavy Armor, Sword, and Pike. They have the option to replace a pike with a banner, and they have that lovely special rule of Pride of Dol Amroth. What do you guys think of these guys?
Get as many in as you can.
Yeah, they're the best troop, I think, in the list.
Yeah, completely agree.
The pikes are cool, and you don't really see them that often. They provide you with a lot of extra options, like Dewey mentioned with Angor earlier, in that you can stack up attacks on your two-handed weapon guys, which we'll get to in a minute, along with the rerolls. And their +1 fight value for being within 3 inches of Imrahil means you can get almost like a daisy chain of Fight 5 going for you, because of where 2 models gives you an extra almost 2 inches range onto that ability than you normally would.
I was going to say you can make a Fight 5 line that's like 10 models wide or something silly, just because of the amount of pike supports you can get. I've got 12 of these guys, and I recently bought another 4 just because I've noticed in lists I'm wanting 13, 14 of them. I just think they're super useful. Super useful.
I don't take as many of them. I generally take enough that I can put them all behind my clansmen. And then I use my axemen actually behind my knights, which means no matter if Imrahil's fighting on the line, I can have Fight 5 pretty much across my whole line with all the different variations, because I tend to like to take all of the unique kind of troops you can take, which means I don't get as many men at arms as I probably should.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because I quite like when I started Fiefdoms, I had a warband of each, which in the old edition didn't make too much difference, whereas now I do think men at arms are probably the better choice out of the spear supporting guys, but we'll get on to Axemen in a minute.
To be honest, I should swap my axemen for the men at arms, but I just love having the axemen too much.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to them next. Ali, can you see all of this? Because we can't see all of it. Okay, cool.
Can you not?
No. Have you switched it off?
No. It should be on.
I can't see it.
Probably the best.
Right, if you can, take us through the Axemen of Lossenart.
Cool. Right. So, Axemen of Lossenart, they are a man of Gondor, infantry and warrior keywords. The stat line is Move 6, Fight 4, Shoot value 4+, Strength 3, Defense 5, 1 Attack, 1 Wound, Courage 3. Then they come with Heavy Armor, an Axe of Lossenart, a Dagger. You can replace the Axe of Lossenart for a banner, and their special rule, which is the Axe of Lossenart, which means that you can use it either as a spear or as a two-handed axe.
I think they're pretty solid.
Yeah.
The addition of the dagger is quite nice. So you can feint if you want.
Should I tell you my one issue with actually that is the fact that the leader of Lossenart Forlong makes the dagger and feinting redundant because you reroll the 1 to wound anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Right. Yeah.
So I really like the axe they have, because they can use it as a spear and a two-handed axe.
Yeah.
In a primarily strength-free army that wounds on 6 across the board, if you outnumber someone in a fight, being able to pop one of these guys in two-handed just gives you that extra killing capacity.
Yeah, definitely agree.
Popping the two-handing piercing strikes, so your strength 4 +1 to wound. For 9 points, that's why I normally have a warband about 6 of them.
Yeah, I like that. I really wish they were strength 4. I feel like they should be as well.
Yeah.
Because then they would have like a definitive role and place in the list.
I was just saying, if they were strength 4, I'd probably take more of them. But like I said, at the moment, with Forlong and Men at Arms, tend to find I'm not taking many, if any.
Yeah.
They're good for the utility, which I quite like in an army, being able to
Yeah.
support and because you could have them essentially on their own as a 2-rank unit, and then it's sort of you can get charged from any angle, and you can always 2-handed piercing strike or spear support. The annoying thing is you have to go 2-handed if you want a piercing strike.
Yeah. But then at least you got the dagger option, so that you're not forced
Yeah.
to hand all the time.
Well, in that case, you just go, I'm going to use the spear, don't you? And just you go for that. But...
Well, no, because sometimes you like to mock your opponent and say, I'm going to fate with this guy, even though I don't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty good. They're courage 3, like a normal man. So
you're not doing anything wrong by taking them. They're just, I think, in terms of the spear support role, at least, they're worse than the men at arms.
Yeah.
And then in terms of an aggressive role, they're slightly different, but worse, arguably, than the clansmen.
Yeah.
But they're a bit of both.
I was going to say, if you could spear then pike, then you'd go Knights of the Ranroth, Axemen, and then your men at arms. But unfortunately, you can't, which is where I think they miss out.
Yeah, and I think with the points of them, because they're the exact same at the men at arms, unless you like the model and you want to have that corner case of being able to 2-hand piercing. There's no reason not to take the men at arms over them.
Yeah. I think they should be 1 point less than they are, personally.
Yeah. 8 points would be perfect for them.
Yeah. So, talking of 8 points, clansmen.
Which are definitely maybe not 8 points.
So, clansmen of Lamadon. They're a man with Gondor infantry and warrior keywords. They've got a move 6, fight 4, 4+ shoot, like pretty much all the Fiefdoms troops. Strength 3, defense 4, 1 attack, 1 wound, courage 5. Their war gear is armor and a broadsword, and their specials are broadsword. So, like Angor, if they roll a natural 6 in a duel, they do not apply the -1 for 200 weapons. And the Honour of Lamadon. Clansmen of Lamadon within 6 inches of Angor, the Fearless, count as being in range of a banner. Another banner. How excellent, team.
Far too many banners.
My old list in the previous edition had an actual banner in the list as well. So I had Imriel with his 12-inch, Angel with his 6-inch, and then an actual banner. So it was always like, I've got a reroll. I'm not sure where from, but I'm pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah, you're like, I got a reroll from over here, or no, maybe over there. But I love these guys.
I think they're great. I think they're really, really useful.
If it wasn't for the broadsword, you'd probably never take them. I think that broadsword's what makes them, because they can just be natural 6s. They haven't got the -1. They kill more than people think.
Yeah, they're really cool and unique as well.
Yeah, it's like similar to Angle. You give them 2 pike supports, and you're not really worried about the -1. If you get that natural 6, excellent. If you don't, I've still got 2 guys behind me, and Imrahil's banner effect somewhere, or Angle's banner effect.
He doesn't.
The natural 6 is really handy, actually, because even if you don't have the spear support, if you just got Angle and them running around, they get 2 dice each, and you're still fairly likely to win the combat with fight 4, and you don't get the -1 on the natural 6.
Yeah. And I like to use them flanking with sometimes, normally the Axemen if I'm flanking them, and it'll just be Angor, the Clansman with the Axemen. They'll be my flank force. For long to go join Imrahil and the horses, while the Knight of Dol Amroth and men at arms go and hold a position.
Yeah, I find on the flanks that people just ignore them because they're defense 4 and think they're going to die really quick. But like I say, you give them a little bit of support with a couple of Axemen or men at arms and Imrahil's banner, and suddenly they just start creeping up on people.
Yeah,
and also the courage 5 is huge.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And there'd be courage 6 half the time because you're pretty much always going to take 4 of them.
Yeah.
Which weirdly for me means that Angbor's special almost becomes redundant for them.
Yes.
It's almost, if you're taking Clansmen, and you've got Imrahil and Forlong, who are arguably the two best characters in the list, Angbor doesn't actually become that useful for the clansmen. Angbor's actually better for all the non-clansman models.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. But then he's not even that valuable for the Knights of Dol-Amroth with the Fearless.
No.
Yeah.
When you have Courage 5, when they've got the war as well.
There's a lot of Harbinger of Evil, so Coach 4 still, but being Elf Courage is really good for a guy.
It was good,
yeah, it's excellent.
And they're also really cool models, just generally.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they're great.
I painted up another 12 about 2 months ago. So I've got Angbor and 24 sat on my shelf. And they're awesome.
If a model is wearing a kilt, then it's a win, really.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think that's a pretty good note to leave it on, to be honest. It's wearing a kilt, job done.
But we just quote in the video there, just leave it there.
Yeah. So, Blackrock Vales. Luke?
So this is the final troop choice now. So keywords: man, Gondor, infantry, warrior, which is pretty much, I think, we just repeat ourselves every time.
Yeah.
But move 6, fight 3, but 3 plus shoot value, strength 3, d4, 1 attack, 1 wound, courage 2. The war gear is armor, a sword, and a bow. You can have the option to take a war horn, a banner, or a spear. Special rules: they get Mountain Dweller, just like doing it here, and also Deadeye Shot. So when benefiting from a heroic shoot, this model may reroll fail to wound rolls when making shooting attacks. Thoughts?
I'm glad they've got the spear option now because they're basically a Ranger of Gondor model.
Yeah.
I call these guys the machine gun. You take a warband of these we've done here, and ironically, you win most shooting wars.
I think they've got a very specific role.
Yeah,
like a really specific role. And
yeah,
they do it really well.
Yeah, because they can't handle anything else but that role. Like the Courage 2, Defense 4, you can't get them in combat, and unless you've got a hero nearby, they aren't sticking around.
So for me, weirdly, one way I've thought about using these guys before is actually as the frontline troops, and you don't give them a spear. Instead of the spear, you pay for a weapon swap and give them an axe. And then you have Angbor hanging around. Because then you basically, because of where everything in the army has to fight for spear support anyway, because you're taking men at arms or whatever, you suddenly got this line which is really good when you're shooting, but is pretty redundant as soon as combat comes. And then so when they hit combat, they suddenly give you that strength 4 that you want, and then Angbor actually solves all their courage issues in combat for charging terror causes.
Yeah.
That's one way that I thought about actually using them.
And you don't mind the piercing strike because your defense is so low anyway.
Yeah,
like you're dying.
Yeah, pretty much.
For me, as soon as I see the lines are getting close and I've got no real valuable shooting targets, these guys are coming straight in. The extra 6 or 7, maybe even 10 bodies with Dwyn here and his like extra point of might, like I said earlier, it helps so much. Because you've got a solid line that doesn't die much anyway, because they predominantly fight 5 and have got a relatively decent damage output, and then you're just piling more numbers in.
Yeah. So I like when the fight stops. I keep these, make sure they're within 12 Imrahil for that stamina. they go and find the objectives.
See, I don't like them as objectives for people because they're only courage 2, which.
That's why you keep them within 12 Imrahil for that handfast if he's not in combat.
But I don't know. 12 inches is a big stand fast, but it can't get everywhere. And Imrahil is the main punchy person in the army. I mean, it's not infallible, but I prefer to have a clansman stand on an objective because you're pretty much guaranteed that they'll stay there.
Yeah.
As a big, angry man in a kilt.
But these guys is where my banner lives when I take one.
Okay.
I pop a banner on one of these guys, and he hides behind a building because his one job is a VT in the missions you need it for.
Yeah.
That's it, because like
And you've got your banner effects from Imrahil and Angor if you need them.
yeah, like
Yeah.
that the banner, taking a banner is not going to benefit you in the same way a banner actually benefits everyone else, unless Imrahil dies.
No.
Yeah.
But at that point, you're struggling anyway.
Yeah.
I always put my banner on the Axeman, personally. But, that's mainly because I've actually converted one for an Axeman model, though.
Yeah, but then he's just a dagger guy. He is.
Yeah.
I mean, I did that conversion back before that would have happened, so.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
No, I think keeping a warhorn with these guys is also quite useful as well.
yeah.
For the same reason, obviously, providing you don't take Forlong or it's high enough points where you can take both.
the Warhorn's amazing, but you've already got one.
Yeah.
With basically.
Having two doesn't hurt.
Because in my game with Damon on the GT's live stream, the commentators were trying to find my banner because it was a banner mission, and it was where my shooting was down the hill. There was a small building, and he was just hidden in there. And there was
It's where you normally have a banner.
It took them ages to find it.
Yeah, it did. It took him like most of the thing, and I had to point it out in the end because it was just the spear poking out of the building. Like he didn't even shoot because it's like it's not worth shooting him, and he just hid there. And it's like it's 25 points that you don't want to spend, but for the VP swing, it can give you higher points levels. I normally take one. At anything lower than 600, it's kind of hard to justify taking one.
Yeah, agreed.
Also means if anyone actually does go after your archers, you've still got the reroll on scenarios where you may have to split up your army.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely, yeah.
Does make them a bit more survivable in the combat.
So that's the end of all the profiles within the faction. So we'll move on to their army bonus, which we've kind of spoken about quite a lot. So their army bonus is for the White City. Special rules marked with an asterisk affect all models from this army list, not just the ones listed. So that is Dilemma for Gondor, which is Imrahil's 12-inch banner. Lord of Nassalark, which is the rerolls of wands to wound within 6 inches of Forlong. It's the Fearless from Angor, and it's the rerolling wands to hit if archers didn't move, or if models didn't move within 6 inches of doing hit.
Yeah.
As an army bonus, where do you think it ranks generally in a lot, like with a lot of the lists?
It's a hard one. It's an amazing ability, but solely because of what the buffs are the heroes give.
Yeah.
Like,
It's what makes the army work.
Yeah.
If you've got just certain rerolls on your men at arms and knights, and then you've only got reroll ones on your axemen, for example, it becomes a lot less viable. But because it's everywhere, I think it's probably one of the top 5 army bonuses.
Yeah.
To be honest, if you don't have this special rule, you're just paying an overcosted minister basically with higher fight value. Because you never yellow
like,
allies.
You end up like everything you would take just men of Doam off. You wouldn't take like for axemen or clansmen or stuff like that because you're not getting the stacking bonuses. I think.
Without it, Imrahil becomes worse because he doesn't get his own banner effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, Imrahil now loses massive value because he needs a banner to babysit him.
Yeah. It's one of the best because it makes the army competitive, basically. It doesn't break the army, but it makes it.
Yeah. If you didn't have it, it'd just be an army that you play for fun. It'd be kind of a mid to low tier army, but the special rule it brings it up so it can compete with pretty much anything. Yeah.
It's also why you would never take a Yellow Alliance, I think, with Fiefdoms, because there's better things as soon as you lose that army bonus.
Yeah, definitely. So that brings us nicely onto the historical allies, which is Minas Tirith and Rohan. Have any of you tried allying
Minus 2 because they give you a cheap D6 frontline. Because which can go up to D7 actually quite easily. Because knights are expensive and like they don't add much more than you can get from your heroes anyway in the list. Because once you go to Gondor, because you're a green ally, Gondor get the +1 to their courage anyway. So your warriors of -2 become courage 4. So you've got 4 long, their courage 5, the D6. The fact that they don't have fight 4 doesn't really matter because all your spear support are fight 4. And then if you're taking the men at arms as well, the fact that you don't get the +1 fight value isn't that big an issue because Imrahil can give the bonus onto your pikemen to make you fight 5 in those combats.
Which hero would you take from Minas Tirith?
So it depends massively on the points. If I was just doing it to have the front line, I would just probably go for someone like Madril or something like that, just as a cheap, free might heroic march guy. But as an alternative, and one of the things that kind of got pointed out when the edition first came out, you could go an Imrahil-less Fiefdoms list and you take Boromir of Gondor with the banner.
Yes.
Because you get the 6-inch banner at that point anyway, and then suddenly all of your guys, which are Gondor guys with the keyword, get the +1 fight value. So you get a 6-inch banner fight value 5 army, and still a pretty decent hero with Boromir and 6 might.
You take Imrahil as well, and then you got fight 6 troops.
Yeah, it's quite hard, I think, points-wise, unless you go up to 1,000 to fit them both in. But yeah,
I've tried looking at about 800, and it's still really, really tough.
Yeah,
sorry.
You can go.
I've only allied once, and it was at Throne of Skulls. I allied Gandalf the White on Shadowfax. That was a great little combo. Adding a wizard into the army just finished it off perfectly. Didn't add any troops. It was just him on his own. The rest of the army was just all the 4 other named heroes. No captain did that either.
Yeah. One of the armies that I've been wanting to do for a while has been a Gandalf the White Fiefdoms alliance, where it'd be basically Gandalf 4 long, and then probably a Captain or Doromoth or something like that as your 3rd hero, because I think he works quite well with them. Anyone tried Vohan?
I've looked at it for some quick mobile shooting with Theoden, because Theoden's not that expensive, but not really. Theodred would probably be a pretty decent addition.
So the one that I've looked at is Helmingas.
Okay.
Because then you get you don't have quite as high courage front line, but you get a strength 4 front line, which can go up to strength 5, and they're pretty cheap warriors of Rohan and help to sort of Helmingas. What's his name? What's the name of the character?
Grimbold.
Grimbold, to put in, and he's another 3 might hero. It's kind of you then end up you go for that to get the strength 5, but then you probably lose out on like Angbor or something like that instead. So it depends on which way you want to go, but I haven't done it yet, but it's one which I've always been quite interested in, sort of seeing how it would pan out.
I've had a thought of a list idea that I haven't tried yet, but it was to use both of them, Minister of Amrohan, and do a Defenders of Gondor style army list where you take Gandalf the White with a load of foot troops, Imrahil with some Kang, and then Theoden with a load of riders and Royal Guard. You need to do it in higher points, but like try and do a whole Defenders style of Minas Tirith, just kind of more of a theme list.
Yeah. I know David Clubley has tried all 3. He had Forlong, Madril, and Dernhelm. And Dernhelm was leading like 4 Royal Guard on Horse of Throne Spears, and then he had like smattering of other troops, lots of men at arms, etc. And that worked pretty well. He
did quite well. It was at the tournament I ran.
Yeah, it was at one of ours, wasn't it?
And he did quite well with it.
I think Theoden would be a really good addition into the army. Him with a few Royal Guard, because
Yeah.
he's got march, he's got the fight value. They get the strength bonus on the charge, his Royal Guard, and that, which gives you that nice bit of strength 4 on the charge.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, that with the knights +1, you can have them as a nice flanking force.
I was going to say, I think the heroes you want to try and add are either, well, if you can, a named hero with heroic march.
Yeah.
And another one I thought was from Minas Tirith is Ingold.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ingold and some warriors of Minas Tirith with shields on your front line with 2 lots of pikes behind them, and suddenly you've got a fight 5 block that's not going anywhere, and your shield wall's still intact.
Oh, there is one idea I had thought of. I just need to check it. Sorry, I've got flicking through my Gondor wall, but I think you can use, take Hurin as an ally, and his special rule with the line of command actually works on Imrahil as well.
Yes.
Oh, is it because they got Gondor special?
Yeah, because he's the Gondor hero. Because Gandalf
Yeah.
doesn't get it, but you can do it on Imrahil, so you can take Hurin on the horse, which now makes Imrahil even more survivable.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then you have 2 striking heroes with +1 to wound on horses.
One quick one
like
that we haven't mentioned, but me and Ali have spoken about before, and Dave Farmer's going to love us for this, is especially with Aldor and Gamling
Oh, yeah.
and Dwin here. The issue is it's a lot of points for some shooting that may or may not come off. Because you'll have heroic shoots every turn. You can heroic accuracy if you want with Aldor or Dwin here, and Gamling obviously gets his might back for the heroic shoots. So it's a possibility, but it's a lot of points to throw into shooting.
Yeah. You can't do it less than 700 points, and at 700, you're pretty reliant on the shooting.
But I think as a good army, it's a lot of points.
Yeah.
When you're only shooting for half the game.
It does give you a machine gun.
Yeah, you're spending like 200 points on heroes for a start.
Yeah.
And then you've got to try and get the actual bows in.
Yeah, none of them you're going to want to have lead in the army anyway.
No. So I think we've gone through all the historical alliances. Next is the army list. So first up, Mr. Davies, take us through the list.
So I'm starting to feel a little bit foolish now based on what everyone said about. But this is what I like. This is sort of my sort of play style as well. So leading the army is Imrahil. He's on his armored horse with his lads. Troops-wise, he has 1 knight of the Lamroth who is on his horse with lance. There's 6 men at arms, 3 axemen, 3 archers with spear, and 2 without. And the second warband is Dwin here. He's got nearly a mirror match. He's got 1 knight on the horse and lance, 6 men at arms, 3 axemen, 3 archers with spear, and then 1 without. So that is 31 models. There's 9 bows. Obviously with Dwin here as well. There's 5 might. There's heroic striking there with Imrahil, and there's some hero buffs on troops as well. Now, I was toying around with sort of having the clansmen in there as well instead of the axemen, but my thinking was I like having support everywhere. So if I can get spears on as much as I can, or pike supports as well, I like having that ability to just sort of move around the board and have access to spear support. And also Dwin here with the shooting, like I said before, I like shoot the armies, so you've got 10 shots there that benefit from that heroic shoot accuracy combo and take down a target a turn sort of thing. So what's first thoughts on that, guys?
It's similar to a list I've run at 500, or at least like 450 back in the old edition. 2 knights on horse are always useful, and at 500 points they can do a lot. 12 men at arms, yeah, I think that's perfect. Probably for me, there's a few too many bows.
Okay.
That's when I've run them at 450. I've generally taken about 6, maybe 7.
I like to max bows.
Yeah, I know. I've played against you elves enough. Yeah, axemen instead of knights on foot or clansmen. It's all personal preference at the end of the day. But no, I think it's pretty for someone who doesn't use the army. That's a pretty solid list, to be fair. In my
I got overwhelmed with all the combos that you can have, so it's kind of pick and choose which ones I liked best and going with that.
Yeah.
My main issue with the list is the amount of might you've got, which 5 is normally fine for 500 points, but because I feel like you're going to be wanting to use Dunhirs for the shooting, you're then left with Imrahil for heroic moves, and because he wants to be doing heroic combats and stuff like that to get the most out of him, you may find yourself a bit low on might or having to choose between the shooting buff or not. That's my main thought with it.
Okay, no, that's good to know.
I do think Dwinhir and his archers could take out some might on your opposing army, so that might negate it a little bit. But I do get where you're coming from.
Yeah, I like it quite nice little combo, because like you can have a front line of either axemen, men at arms, or Blackroot Vale, but still have that that pike block spear spot.
Yeah, so that was my thing. I think Ali mentioned it earlier, as possibly having depending on the army you're facing, have the archers mostly at the front line.
Yeah, that's something with what Ali said.
Yeah, so they have they're a little bit closer to the action, so you don't have to worry too much about range. I know it's not a massive thing, but it can play a part sometimes. But then if you've got an opponent that doesn't have any shooting, you can just hang back, take some might off heroes, take some targets out, and wait for them to come to you. And then, as Debbie said, extra dice into the combat pool.
Yeah,
that's my thinking with that. They wouldn't necessarily be a shooting bunker off to the side, picking targets. They would be with the rest of the army, benefiting from all the buffs as well, and it would all be sort of one cohesive unit.
You've got this list really works nicely in a bubble, like in its own little ball, like a little death ball.
That was my thinking behind it.
Yeah, I will agree with you actually, Luke, on maxing bows, because I think you need to at 500 points, because if you end up coming up against a shooting army, you want to be able to outshoot it. If you're taking Dunhir, otherwise it's a little redundant choosing him, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think with no defense 6 as well, having those extra bows is quite nice to help mitigate that you probably lose a few troops if you let your opponent shoot too much.
Yeah,
because you're only defense 5 on everything but Imrahil.
Yeah,
or worse. Yeah.
I was going to say, for me, I normally have a couple of knights on foot, so I'd probably have between 3 or 4 on foot in a list like this. So that's why I would probably take a few less bows.
Yeah, I mean, you could mix it around, swap the axemen for some clansmen and knights as well. Maybe drop some spears on archers, that sort of thing. So
I think having all the spears on the Blackroot is really helpful.
Yeah, I couldn't get all the spears I wanted, but maybe if I played it around.
You can drop a model without losing any breakpoint as well.
So I'm going to be a bit controversial.
That's one thing I didn't think of,
So I'm going to be a bit controversial, but with this list, I actually think you could almost take Imrahil on foot and not be penalised too much. Because you're such a bunker, you can have him in the middle or on the front line with so many pikes around. Like, you're not going to be going off anywhere to hunt things down with your knights or anything. You want to be stuck together. So you could, if you wanted the points to upgrade to Knights of Dol Amroth, you could almost drop the horse and lads. I wouldn't want to, but this list is one of those ones where this is probably the list. If I was going to do a non-mounted Imra this is probably what I'd take.
Yeah, at lower points, this is something you would probably see more, isn't it?
I'm going to be even more controversial and say I probably wouldn't take Imra I'd rather take.
Is going for the Forlong and Angbor and Twin Hill, but I couldn't get as many models as I wanted where I wanted.
I would probably go for Forlong, and then potentially Captain. Or even actually just go Forlong. I don't know how many. You may not upgrade the troops and get a normal banner in there. Or you could go Angbor on a captain. I don't know. But you can keep the most of the list the same and just sort of swap Imra out for 2 of the other heroes. It would be roughly equal points.
I've run the 3 non-Imra named heroes at 500, and you get a similar number, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think it was about 28, 29, I think, with the current troops as it is, I think.
Yeah.
I played your list at 500 with that, didn't I?
Yes, you did with your. That's a very good memory.
That was when we learned that Dunher and the Blackroot Vale can't outshoot the Harad Betrayer shooting list.
Yeah, and I was stood behind the wall.
Yeah.
Right, moving swiftly on. Ali's 650 point list. This was very interesting when you sent this to me, so run us through it.
Yeah, I thought it maybe. So 650 points. So Warband 1 and your general is Prince Imra with all the gear. 3 Foot Knights of Doromoth, 3 Clansmen of Landon, 6 Men at Arms of Doromoth, and then Warband 2 is Forlong the Fat, with pretty much exactly the same composition. So 3 Knights on foot, 3 Clansmen, and 6 Men at Arms. And then the third and final warband is a Captain of Doromoth with Armoured Horse and Lance, 2 Knights on foot, 2 Clansmen, and 6 Men at Arms of Doromoth. So you've got 37 models, 8 Might, 1 Heroic Strike, 1 Heroic March, the Hero Bus, and a Warhorn, basically. Yeah. No mounted models apart from heroes, though.
Yeah, that's the bit I found interesting. And no shooting. But if you're not taking Dwin here, then you kind of don't really want to, do
you? I like it because everything bar Imra on horse will have a support based on that sort of makeup. So you could have just a line, everything's got a support, which I like.
So part of the idea behind the list and the warband formation is the knights you can put unsupported if you want, because where they're D6 they can shield and you get the banner reroll. And the clansmen you can give them the 2 men at arms with pikes supporting each. And so you can basically, not necessarily guarantee, but with 4 dice, even though one's at -1, get that 6 and win the combat and then probably kill the model. So the knight is there to survive. I mean, he may even be able to kill depending on...
Protect your flanks, I presume. So you can definitely get your pikes in when you need them.
Yeah, the Clansmen of Landon can charge because they're Courage 6, and then they can kill with the +1 to wound. And then Men at Arms are just there to make sure who you need to win combat should be winning combat. And then all of the heroes are pretty horrifically good in combat on the charge, with all +1 to wound, fight 5 or better. Like you could do a heroic combat with all of them if they remain to fall and be pretty reliable to actually kill that. What would it be, like 12 guys in one turn?
You could quite easily send them like kind of down both flanks, and suddenly you're calling 3 heroic combats and you're targeting your opponent's heroes who are behind the line.
Yeah, you got a fairly healthy might store that you can afford to do that as well. I actually liked this list quite a lot when I was building it because I hadn't done a 650 point for Fiefdoms before. It originally started out without Imra and then I think it may have been 2 captains and Angbar, and then in the end it was there going like, actually I may as well just chuck Imrahil in just because he's awesome. And I didn't really need the courage bonus from Angbar, like I mentioned before.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of models as well. 37 for 650 is actually
It's pretty high.
it's borderline starting to go into horde territory. It's not quite, but it's sort of for a fight 4 across the board army. It's pretty good. Yeah, and you got heroic march, which for me is almost essential, especially when I don't have like the mounted knights.
So this is almost a list where you just throw the heroes off to go take out whatever they need to take out and leave the troops on their own, and just they hold a position while your heroes go round the back and just take out all their heroes and their supports, and then your troops just push through with the amount of pikes you've got. Just being Imrahil just running around wherever he wants is all you really need the buff for, and the odd Forlong one.
Yeah, but the fact that Forlong and Imrahil's buff are 12 inches and 6 inches means you can be around the flanks and stuff like that, and it's still pretty solid. But if it's an army which I actually really want to take now, since making it,
I think a lot of people are surprised by Forlong's 6-inch reroll 1s to wound, because it is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes a long, long way.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting list. So
yeah, I like it.
We will move on to. It's not a Fiefdoms list I've ever seen, to be honest.
I mean, that fits my hobby hipster title, doesn't it?
Yeah, that just fits you to a T. So we'll move on to the next list, which is 800 points, written by Shaun.
This is kind of a bit of everything, really. So we've got Prince Imrahil on his horse and lance, because really there's no reason not to take him. We've got 4 knights of Amroth. They've got their horse and a lance as well. He then has 5 knights of Amroth on foot and 5 men at arms following on behind them. The second warband will be Forlong. He's on his horse. He's got 7 axemen of Lossen Ark. My third warband was Angbar the Fearless with 6 clansmen of Lamadon. And then the final warband is Dunhir with his little machine gun block with 7 Blackroot Vale archers, just basic gear, 5 with spear and 1 with a banner. This was kind of, I like when I use the Fiefdoms to have a little bit of everything for that versatility. And the 4 knights work really nicely with Imrahil as an additional shock charge, because they become fight 5 when you need them. So unless you're fighting elves, you can normally punch a big hole before your knights show up. Yeah, what do you guys think of that?
One word from me: you've got 10 knight in the army I've just counted. I don't know where that 9's come from.
God, you're sacked.
It's 10 might. Got nice 13 bows, I thought. 2 heroic strikes in it with the Angbar. We got the buffs, the Warhorn, and the nice 44 models is a good amount, considering that normally Fiefdoms is quite elite because of the cost of the troops. Being able to squeeze in over the 20-to-1 ratio.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a ratio I always try and break. I've looked at trying to go like 18-to-1. Trying to find a number for it, but it doesn't really fit.
I do the 20-to-1 and then add a couple of the models.
Yeah.
I like the list.
For me, there's not enough men at arms of Amroth, but that's just me, because I like that fight 5 being as far and wide as possible. But this is a list I do like dropping the big.
I think based on what you said already, Shaun, about how you play with this army, this suits you down perfectly. So you've got the Axemen and Clansmen, they can go off and do their own thing, but you've then got that block of knights and men at arms sort of in the middle, holding things up. And then these 13 bows taking out whatever they want, really.
Yeah, because
you go for it.
We've done here with the spear as well. You've almost got a nice spear wall. I was missing 1 point to give the banner one as well.
You could make the Axeman into a Clansman.
I was going to say, just sort what the numbers on the Axeman and Clansman around.
No, there is a reason there's 7. It's because
is that what you got painted?
No, it's because you throw Angbor goes in the front line with his clansmen, 3 on either side, and then that gives you
Oh yeah, of course.
because
Imagine-
Forlong on his horse just runs around wherever he's needed.
The only thing I'd be tempted to do is reorganise the warband composition.
Yeah,
I know why it's like that. It's because it's cool and it's the troops that everyone leads. So cool factor. But I'd be tempted just because, like, go half and half with like the Axemen and the Clansmen.
Yeah, from a competitive point of view, that would be the
Just for the
smart
flexibility in terms of maelstrom scenarios or stuff like that.
So normally, if I was going full competitive with it, because I kind of went for more the theme with the layout, but what I'd normally do is throw the knights and the men at arm with Forlong. The axeman will just go in with Angbor and the clansmen, and Imrahil would just have the 4 mountain knights as his band because they can.
Okay.
So
That's probably what I would do.
Yeah. I thought because we were doing green allies, I thought I'd go themey and I'd give each person the right family being led by.
No, that's good though. I like. I've taken a list to 7 Stones with Steve Crow where we did very similar. We did Forlong and I think it was 12 in the end, or at least like 11. Angbor and 10, Dwinir and 8, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it looks really cool when you're putting it down on the table.
Yeah.
But what's nice is they all can take 15 or more troops. So it's like you can have the clansmen and the axemen all with Angbor. Like most other armies, other named heroes of fortitude.
It's amazing.
It's one of the best things about the list, actually, is you're never short of troop spaces, really. I like, despite me criticising bow lists, just a little more personal thing, I like actually the amount of bows in this list because it's, we've done here, because you've got quite a lot of might everywhere else, like you've got enough shooting to be a threat at this point, so if they don't have blinding light or similar, but then it's because you can get a lot of power out of the number of archers you've got. It then means that you haven't actually compromised on the rest of the list that much if you can't do that.
Yeah, this is actually almost identical to my GT list I took. Just losing a few guys just to make up the points to 700. And it worked really nicely because, like, even in Maelstrom, Dunhere can, even just the archers, they can survive long enough for Imrahil to show up.
And I think at 800 points, if someone's got blinding light, it might not necessarily encompass that whole army. Yeah. So whatever's out of blinding light, you are gunning for that, and you are gunning them down as much as possible.
But even with blinding light, your 6s re-rolling 1s, you're getting probably 3 through a turn.
Yeah.
That's right.
So because you're never moving with them until you literally the lines hit, like we said. And that's when you dart forwards. Dunhere, and if he's got a might point, goes and runs behind Imrahil for a heroic move late game.
Yeah.
That catches a lot of people out.
Yeah. So we'll move on to kind of the final thoughts of everyone on the Fiefdoms. So if we start with you, Luke.
So I think I mentioned at the start, I've only played with Fiefdoms once, and this was in the old edition, but I've played against them a fair few times since the new edition started, and I think they're actually one of the underdogs in terms of how competitive they could actually be. I think with all the buffs, if you go green or pure list, all the buffs that you can give to your troops and everything like that, they can be very, very competitive. But also, they look cool, they're fun, and I've never had a bad game playing against them.
Play Dewey with them though, yeah.
That's my point. Yeah, that's my point. They are a very fun army to come up against because I think prior to the new release, they were one of the rarer ones to see on the tournament scene. Unless someone was going pure theme or was having a bit of fun, you'd rarely see this sort of this army. Yeah. But now that people are starting to realise they are really good, you'll see them at least once at every tournament, I think, if not a few people taking them, which I think is really cool. So someone else who's got a bit more experience playing with them. So, Shaun or Ali, do you want to add some final thoughts?
Yeah, well, they're an army that I took them to my first tournament I ever went to, and ever since then I keep jumping from army to army, and I always go back to making more lists with them because they're really fun to play with, but they're also they're not as easy as you might think to play because all the buffs and synergies just work so well that like Luke said, they can be very competitive if you play them right, but they will punish you if you don't because you are paying a lot for your troops. And when they start to fall, they will quickly, but with the amount of buffs you get, you can make them kill a lot better than most strength 3 armies can. They're kind of almost like us. They can nearly kill as much as a strength 4 army generally does with the reroll ones. Yeah, I always tend to make a list for fiefdoms for pretty much every tournament I go to. That's one of the first lists I make, and then I decide a different army from there.
For me, I think fiefdoms are possibly the best looking army in the game. There's only one model in the list which I think doesn't look that great, and ironically, that's Imrahil. I don't know if you guys think that as well. But I think
I agree.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
I don't know. You guys haven't seen my forlorn conversion.
But, I think actually, if I wanted a new model in the game for any army, it'd be Imrahil. Not because I actually think their model's terrible, but it's because the rest of the army looks so good compared to it. But no, they're like as Shaun and Luke mentioned, they're I think low key a lot better than most people think if someone uses them right. They're quite a squishy army, which means that if you don't quite use them correctly, they will go down quickly, which is why I think a lot of people tend to be slightly put off them. And also because they never used to be very good, really, in the previous edition, and they are quite a cool looking army. They're all metal or fine cast, apart from the Rangers. You don't see them that much, and so I think people have just associated that with them not being as competitive as they probably are. It's an army which I haven't taken properly yet in this edition. Like I've only just used it in fun tournaments and games, and it's always actually surprised me how well they perform. And I probably actually really want to actually use them now at a proper competitive event.
Yeah, I think they're really good. And like I say, I think part of it is because in the old edition they weren't very good, so no one's got them in their backlog. They're also quite an expensive army to collect. Like I say, you've got your Blackroot Vale and your mounted knights as plastics, but the rest are fine cast or metal. I collected them in the old edition because I thought they looked awesome. That was literally the reason why I took them to tournaments, because I thought they looked really cool. Like Shaun, I took them to my first ever event in Cardiff. And yeah, I love painting them up. I thought painting another 12 clansmen would be a ball ache, but actually I really, really enjoyed it.
Which one's your favourite model of the infantry guys?
What, the troops?
Yeah.
Oh, shelf behind me. It's probably the clansman. Yeah, it's probably the clansman. I like the bold guy swinging his big axe, putting some real effort into it. I think they're really cool. I like Dwin here for me is kind of a real, like I say, people don't expect it, and I think people don't expect a lot from the fiefdoms, but having all those buffs and trying to put them in the right place, I think you can really catch people out.
Yeah.
I love playing synergy armies. These guys, Mahud and Angmar, are like my main go-tos, and they've all got synergies where they all bounce off each other, like all the different heroes and models bounce off each other. These are definitely close to my heart and definitely a really, really pretty army.
What do you guys reckon is its like worst matchup?
Oh,
an elf shooting list.
So they lose out on the fight value.
And they're winning you on 5s.
Yeah.
Kind of struggle against magic. They can do.
I do. I think the list struggles against dedicated shooting armies if you don't have, like, as in the strength 3 ones,
Yeah.
or because of where so much of the list is just defense 4 or 5.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
I would say hero heavy armies, so like Riders of Theoden, because Imrahil, and if you maybe have Angor, you're only 2 striking heroes. Once
Yeah.
you've run out of might with Imrahil, you can't continue to keep fighting those heroes that have a lot of might, or you've got a lot of them. So I think a hero heavy army they can struggle against as well.
See, I think a Riders of Theoden's actually all right to play against. I've played against them
As long as you got Den here.
No,
And the Black Root.
I found having a front line of Knights of Dartmouth and then 2 ranks of men at arms. I think I played against Shaun in a friendly game just at home, and not that Shaun, different Shaun. And having him come in and go, cool, death, throat combats, and I was like, cool, but I'm a shield wall with 2 rows of pikes who are also fight 5. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
If they lose the fight, you kill the horse. It's dead easy. And like you say, with Dwyn here, and if you shoot out Gambling's horse, then it becomes a little bit. I think they're slightly easier than some hero heavy lists. I do agree, hero heavy list will scum you.
That was just the first one that came to my mind when I was thinking of hero heavy.
Well, it's the predominant hero heavy one at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, and that one's just good against everything. I wouldn't say it's an explicit weakness or fiefdoms.
Yeah, I don't know. I played them with Moria and did quite well against them. But yeah, like talking with the fiefdoms, like I've probably I've placed best with fiefdoms like in tournaments out of every army I've used. I've actually won 2 tournaments using them.
Nice.
And then the last few times I've been with them, I've been in the top 10 taking them. Because like we've said, like they've got a lot of synergies that once you learn how to play them. My first tournament I did terrible with them because I didn't get used to the synergies. But then after that, once you know how to use them right, it's just crazy. Like I've played the Witch King in a Black Numenorian Shield Wall. Imrahil was transfixed the whole game, but because he was just a 12-inch banner, I didn't even need to use him for anything else.
Yeah. The 12-inch banner and the fight value buff, you're like, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Crack
Even
on.
if he doesn't kill anything all game, he still made his points back.
Yeah.
So on that note, thank you for joining us, guys. That's been really, really good fun.
Oh, no, thank you for being on.
That's all right. We'll definitely have both of you back for different factions, ones you play. So if you've enjoyed this video, please comment, like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you soon.